Go ahead.
People are concerned about the most vulnerable of the poor. In a recession, they would suffer the most. How best do you think governments can impact those who are considered the most vulnerable in society?
Well, the most vulnerable naturally would be the common man on the streets, in my own opinion. We've heard about government talking about palliatives, putting 500 billion naira in the budget next year. But I think what the man on the street needs really would be jobs. I'm not so sure about just handing out free money to them. It's almost like when you have an election and people give out bags of rice and people feed for like 2-3 weeks, and after that they go hungry again. If you create an enabling environment, like I said, for the manufacturing sector, for the real sector, you will create jobs for people.
But you still need social security, even if...
No, definitely. I'm not disputing that. You do need social security. But can Nigeria afford social security at this point in time? Everything should come with time. Yes, you need social security. In United Kingdom, in the United States, you have social security, but can Nigeria afford it?
We've been talking about, sorry to cut you there, we've been talking about planning and data collection, but the thing here is that when you hear government say, we can't lord it over the banks because these are private enterprise, how well can they move in when they say they're talking about ease of doing business, because these are agencies of government? Is it really that difficult for them to put in place a better and easy way out for people who are coming over to do business, or those doing business in the country?
I think it's having a clear-cut plan on how you want to address the problem. You have specific agencies. You can have agencies whose target would be to ensure that ease of doing business goes from X to Y. So, for instance, you have a government agency that has been set up to cut expenses, and they would have been given a target. So the same thing. Our index right now, where is Nigeria on the rating for ease of doing business index? Where do we want to go to? And you look for somebody, preferably somebody who is an expert in that. It doesn't necessarily even have to be a Nigerian, but look around and say, look at different countries. Where have people been able to improve their processes of ease of doing business? Look at it and say, was there a country that was, 100 and has gone down to number 2? Who was able to push this? Do we want to get that person to come in as an advisor and tell us what is the best way that we can improve? Does it have to be through the government agencies, or does it have to be focusing more on the private sector? Those are the things we need to sit down and look at all together. And part of it might just be, even in terms of getting the right things, might be also talking about having an advisory council, an economic advisory council. Not necessarily the economic team, but you hear people talk. You hear Sanusi comments recently, you hear Soludo talk. We have a lot of people, great minds here, who are no more in government. You might actually want to bring them together and say, look, we need to improve the economy. What are the ways you think we can improve? The advice that you don't have to take the advice, but still, at least you get to hear from other people, and don't take them as criticism. Let it be that people are adding value to you, so you actually listen to what they say and try and implement some of the things that they're saying.
At the end of the day, all of these policies, if they eventually come to fruition, the ultimate intention will be that the average person benefits from this.
Definitely.
But for those who have lost their jobs, if government goes about or brings about this policy, how do you think those ones will benefit?
Well, if people who have lost their jobs, they have two options. It's either you try and start a business of your own, or you go and look for another job. Really, sitting at home and folding your hands is not an option. And in terms of getting another job, it might even be, as MBS would call it, underemployment. So it might not be fully employed. It might be a part-time job that puts food on the table. So you actually have either of the two options. Now, in terms of starting your own business, this is where we talk about an enabling environment, from the, which will have to be created by the government, right? And then even in getting another job, you're still talking about an enabling environment for the existing businesses to grow. Now, if you look at the last statistics released by National Bureau of Statistics, you would see that you have huge job losses in the last quarter, right? So you have a lot of people actually losing their jobs. So the government has to find a way to tackle these things. Foreign exchange is a big problem, which is part of what has killed a lot of industries right now. We need to find a solution to that. High interest rates, I think, is part of the problem. We need to find a solution to that. Enabling environment, giving people the infrastructure, we need to find a solution to that. And when you do that, then people who have lost their jobs would suddenly start to have job offers, or would decide to start their own businesses. If you follow the finance news in the U.S., Piros is a big number. People sit down and they wait for it, and that for them is a big decider or a big function or in determining how well the government is performing or how well the economy is performing. Do we want to start having payrolls number in Nigeria, where you release payrolls regularly to show people how well they are doing? It puts the government under pressure, but maybe that's what you need.
And as you suggested also, they shouldn't take it as criticisms, even if it is constructive one.
Yes,
so we should be able to take that in, because you will always have a mixture, but it's up to how they interpret all of those would be the key thing. But we'll be back in a minute and then take you up on 2 other key issues which you highlighted. Don't go away. Well, the president speaking about we will get ourselves out of this, but 2 things. If we need to do this, one of the things that a lot of people are focusing on is this interest rate. What would you recommend be done to take it or have it at a single digit across board?
Well, I think that's a very tough one right now, because to first of all have interest rate at single digits, you need to have inflation at single digits. You don't want to have negative real returns on your investment. You don't want to be investing at 10% when inflation is at 17 or 18. So we need to bring down inflation. And the major driver of inflation right now, is costs, which is basically currency. So you've had Naira value from 160 roughly about 2 years ago in the black market to about 420. There is no way that you will not have hyperinflation or have high inflation across board. You need to rein that in. And part of the thing is you need to bring back the foreign investors. It's unfortunate that some of our policies let them go, but we need to find a way to bring them back into the country. Not just the portfolio funds, but more of the FDIs, more stable funds, people who would come in here and keep their money here for about 5, 6 years, 7 years.
What about people who have their money but they're looking for where to put it in here?
Well, that's part of creating enabling environments, like I said earlier on, for people to invest and people to start businesses. You have a few foreign investors who are here trying to get out. You have a number of Nigerians here who, once they make a bit of money, the first thing they want to do is to buy foreign currency and take it out of the country, basically because they don't have faith in the Nigerian currency. So we need to find a way to stabilize the currency. Right now, the central bank has taken quite a few steps. They've devalued the currency. They've created the futures market, which basically helps ensure that your income that you're going to get when you come in is fixed. So they've done a few things, but we've not seen the reaction or the inflow that we expected to get from the foreign investors. And the truth about it is that they just need to stay the course. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have, you've had a loss of confidence, and we need to reassure them that we're back on track and we know what we're doing and get them to start coming back into the country.
All right, Nnamdi Nwizu is the head of training at Commercial Partners, also a financial expert. Thank you for coming on this morning. Well, that's the show today. Thank you all for watching and for sending in your comments as well. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Many thanks. I'm Sulaiman Alede.
And thank you, I'm Maokwe Ogun.